here's this rule, you know, looks like we're not going to be drinking. The initial reaction is, how are we going to get around this? So I think I'm really afraid of too many limitations on the consumption of alcohol, because I believe that communicates that what the administration is communicating by too many rules is that the student isn't responsible enough to make that decision for themselves. And here comes someone to disagree, probably.
Jim, any comment?
Yeah, I do disagree to a point. I think that what we're dealing with here isn't a new rule. It's simply not making an exception to an older rule. And the university should not be doing things that promote anything that interferes with academic life. And if the consumption of alcohol on weeknights interferes with academic life, which I think over the past 3 years we've seen clearly it does, the faculty certainly think it does, then it's something that the university should not be making exceptions to support. They're not saying that people can't drink. They're saying that we're not going to give you the means to drink, the safe haven to drink. If you want to do it, you do it on your own time in your own place. And we're not going to be a part of it because we're here as an academic institution.
You had something to add on that, Kiki? Or?
I have to agree. It's the university almost covering themselves so that if anything does happen, you know, they weren't supporting or promoting alcohol during the week. We are here. This is an academic institution. We're here to learn. But then again, I'm kind of right in the middle. I see Eric's point of view in that it's still going to happen. Who's kidding who? It's Little 500 week. Drinking's going to occur. Now, where you want to put it? You know, the university's saying it's not going to happen in your house. Fine, take it to Toppers, and there's going to be underage drinking again at Toppers. Mm-hmm. It's still going to occur. I don't think they're erasing the issue. I think they're just moving it. Whether or not I agree with that.
No,
can I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, when you talked about making rules that might preserve the academic life, what I see academic life as is a relationship between the students and faculty. Mm-hmm. And at a student-faculty committee meeting when we discussed this, the faculty and students present, I believed that or at least the students and faculty present came to a consensus that the consequences of consuming alcohol during that week, or being accountable for those consequences, should be, what am I trying to say here? That the professors and the students should create the academic life. And as far as creating consequences for the consumption of alcohol, the administration as this third element coming in and making these rules about it, as one professor called it, just seems like social engineering.
I agree with you that it is up to the professors and to the students to make that final decision on whether or not on how to emphasize academics. One of the things that came up in that meeting, and I think you're referring to, is one professor who said, "Why do we allow exceptions as faculty? Not that all faculty do, but some of them do. We let people get by without coming to class. We let people come in and we postpone tests. We avoid that week with tests. You know, why do we do that?" And I agree with that, and I think that's important that they not do that. All they are is permitting this movement away from academics. But at the same time, I still think that it's not social engineering. Social engineering would be an effort by the university to stop alcohol consumption altogether, or something to that effect. That's not what they're doing. I really don't believe it. I think that they're simply not promoting it, rather than trying to discourage it. They're simply not promoting it.
Kiki.
I was just going to say, I think I kind of agree with Jim, sorry, Eric, in that I think the administration, by coming in, they weren't social engineering. I think they're helping to facilitate the rapport between the student's relationship with the faculty. They're helping it to occur on a better basis than a hungover basis, or a basis where the student, half of the classes won't be there. Do you see what I mean? They're helping to facilitate the relationship between students and faculty that should be there each and every week, without the exception of one little 500 week. And that's what the university was doing. They're helping to keep the relationship stuck together.
Well, I think what the faculty were worried about was that they didn't see the students wouldn't be seeing the consequences of their action being addressed at that academic level. That, well, I had a hangover, I went to class, I didn't do well on my test. They see it as at an administrative level, and that diverts the attention away from the academics.
Brad, has the administration played the role too much as police, or have they been on target?
I kind of really don't know where I sit on this issue, because I didn't drink at all in high school, and I don't drink much now. And for me, it really doesn't make any difference, because I have as much fun with or without it a lot of times. But I think I tend to agree with what Jim and Kiki are saying, in that you can always say we're here to get an education, and I think to make exceptions for the alcohol policy just for that week, I think does tend to take away from that, and that to move tests and to change your academic schedule around to facilitate 1 week of partying, I don't think is necessarily that necessary. But then there's the part of me that says, well, it's almost a tradition. I mean, it's only 1 week of the semester, and at first it kind of shocked me that she did make that the new rule, or however you want to put it, to limit the partying. And I know for my house, for example, we had a band scheduled for a Wednesday, and you have to sign contracts and things for that, so we still are having the band, and it's going to be non-alcoholic, but you know you won't have the numbers there that you would have beforehand, so in a sense you're losing some money, and that comes into play somewhat, because you kind of wish you wouldn't have to lose all the money, but it's a back and forth issue, I think.
Now, Brad brought up the point, Eric, that we're here for an education. What does that mean? Is that books, or is that social, or is that a combination, or what does that mean to you? You're here at college to get an education.
Right. An education. An education to me is, and we talked about this too before, is developing critical thinking skills. Yeah, 4 years where you're allowed to develop your ideals. You're out, or they say that we're in a bubble here, but it's a safe environment to develop our ideals, strengthen them, prepare ourselves to go out in society in every way, to develop the intellect, the social skills.
Jim, what's the role of education on the college level?
I agree. It's to build communication skills and to build critical thinking skills, and that does not simply include academics as in classwork. It does include social life. Going back to the whole alcohol issue, alcohol is such a prevalent part of social life, not just at DePauw, but at any university and in society itself. It's so prevalent that people go out and drink to the point where they get sick, and they don't ever consider, whether there's something wrong with that. Whether, maybe.
Does it enhance the fun, or what is the role of alcohol at a social event? Can people have fun without alcohol, or does it take away from the loosening up aspect? Do people have to loosen up first to have fun?
I have fun without alcohol.
I can attest to that. They're not drinking for a couple of years.
I mean, I've, relatively speaking, have always been a light drinker, and I say relatively because there are even times in the past 4 years where I've been a heavy drinker to my standards, what my standards are now, and most of my best times have been without alcohol. Almost all of them. Probably all of them, to tell you the truth. And I don't, it goes back to the critical thinking. Do people stop and take the time to think about it? Do they take the time to think about, is this a crutch? Have I had fun without alcohol? Mm-hmm. Does alcohol actually make a better time? You know, why do I drink? People don't take the time to think about that. Critical thinking isn't limited to the classroom. It needs to be in your whole life.
Kiki, did you have something else to add on that?
No, it's so funny because I didn't talk to either of these guys about that issue beforehand, and I had pictured in my mind what's the role of education, and I thought exactly, critical thinking. It's being able to make decisions on your own without accepting something passively because it's being passed off as an expert's point of view. You learn to read critically now. You don't always have to agree with authors. You don't always have to agree with things. You can come up with your own opinion and respect that. It's making choices on your own and deciding what's right and what's wrong and what's best for you. And I think that happens socially, that happens academically, that happens extracurricularly here. And the combination really prepares you well.
Brad, any final comments on education?
The only thing I would say is with what we've been talking about, I think that with this week coming up for a little 5 week, it would just be best for everyone to go through it and abide by the laws and the rules that have been laid down. And I think you can have fun at a lot of the events that are there without alcohol, if not all of them. And I think if students would sit back and realize that, there wouldn't be such that stigma to drink, and as the university says, put a damper on our education in the classrooms.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. And thanks for watching Point of View. Tune in next week, 10:30, Sunday nights, for Point of View. Remember, if you don't express it, it's not a point of view.